All right, we're with Coach Mark Paul as we get ready for the 2017-18 season. Season opener coming up at your former alma mater.
No, it's always my alma mater. I don't run away from that.
I didn't know how to reference you because you played in Washington forever. Too.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about going back.
Washington won't claim me.
Oh, okay. Well,
they're like, you left, you're dead to us.
Are you sure that they won't claim you, or you won't claim them because you won a national title at Kentucky?
No, I'm pretty sure they won't claim me.
Okay.
They were not happy with me, but it was complicated.
So talk a little bit about going home to open your 2017-18 season and playing in Rupp Arena and coaching in Rupp Arena.
Yeah, well, 99% of my deal with going back to play this game in Kentucky has everything to do with our team and our program and our university. I think it's a great opportunity for us to first and foremost, for my team to see a great basketball team in a great environment, and for my administration to see it, for this whole program and university to see it, because we are naive and bold enough to think that we can become great, and that's where we want to go. We want to go there as fast as we can. So the chance for us to go start this season by going to witness that and be there, I think is really important. And I think in that sense, we're going to get a big time education. I'm also excited about challenging my team on the court. And I'm excited about exposing the things that we can do really well at the highest level and the things that we really, really struggle at right now at the highest level. I'm excited to give my team a view of what we need to grow into by the end of the season, because our goal is to make it to the NCAA tournament, and if we do that, we'll likely play a team like this in the first round. And so the fact that on the very first night of the season we get to see this, and we get to spend this next 4.5 months chasing it, so we can get a chance to take another whack at it is really exciting us. And there's 1,000 other reasons basketball-wise. I'm excited for the opportunity for my guys to go in and play in these venues and have a chance to go win in these venues. I'm excited for the university just with all the notoriety that it has come from and will. And then on a very personal, 1% part, I love that building. I love that university. I love that program. And I've had a chance to walk in there maybe when I was coaching at Georgia, maybe only twice or 3 times to walk in and see that banner hanging on the ceiling. So just that little tiny portion is really exciting for me too.
What are you going to tell your guys when you walk into Rupp Arena for your first shoot-around out there, and they look at that banner and know that they're playing for a guy that was on that team?
I don't think I don't anticipate having any big speeches for them. I think that the venue and the moment speak for themselves. I think what we're going to talk about is staying simply within ourselves and be who we are, because our goal every year is to, by the end of the season, whatever it takes, to become the best team that we possibly can. And so if we go to a game like this and we don't play like ourselves, we're not going to learn very much. We're not going to grow very much, right? So we need to go in there and be who we are, and that's the hardest playing team in America. We want to play harder and faster and more fierce than anybody else. We want to see if we can still be the aggressor against great teams like this. Can we still be the aggressor? Because that's what we like to be. That's our identity. Can we still stay together in these really difficult environments? So the most important thing is that we go into this gym and we are still able to be who we are. Because if we're who we are, then after the game, we get to go break down film. We get to have conversations about our energy and level and how it ebbed and flowed during the game. We get to have a real conversation about our lineups and how we liked them and didn't like them, and how we need to change them, and our substitution patterns. We get all this incredibly useful data for us to grow. If we go into that gym and we get outside of ourselves and we play different than we normally play, and we don't kind of have our identity, then it's going to be a waste in that sense. We're not going to be able to cull a lot of knowledge, a lot of data from it that's functional for us. So if we talk about anything going into this gym, that's going to be what it is, guys. we are going to go be ourselves. We're going to be the very best us that we can be right now, and see how well we can compete right now and get a real marker of where we are, and then have unbelievable data as we move forward.
You talk about the moment, going into a program that has the most national championships, second most national championships in college basketball history. John Calipari's been there for a few years and has won a couple of national titles. How do your guys, are already excited, but what does it mean for you to be able to, you're part of that program and to take that experience to your team?
Well, I think one of the things it does is, I think it's the one part of that I think is real is, I know Kentucky, and my guys are going to feel they're not going to be able to miss the bond between Kentucky faithful, which is everybody who goes to Kentucky, and their former players. And it'll be impossible to miss that bond, because every time our guys get a chance to go back there, it's palpable, right? And it's a real relationship that program is so special. And then the banner on the ceiling adds another dimension to that too. And I want my guys to take from that this sense of that the not the repercussions, but the work that they do now for this university, that it's going to have legs and it's going to have life. And the work that they do for their teammates and this team and this program, it's going to have a life. And I think the guys that have been here have already been able to see it. We had the ribbon cutting for this building, which the guys that were here 2 years ago, I can't tell you how many times in the locker room before a game, we talked about, hey, we managed to get a couple big-time donors in here that are going to help us build a building. You have got to go show them who this program is becoming. I mean, they were there in the ground stages when we were begging for every dollar, right, to try and build these walls. And then for the guys that were only there that year, for them to come back and see this, and then the guys that have kind of seen the whole progression over the two years and a couple months, I think that it's becoming more real to them. And then the fact that we run this alumni game and it's getting bigger and bigger every year, and the fact that we're able to have these donors who played here before and have their banners up on the wall and their names here, all that kind of is a good segue into what they're going to see at Kentucky. And it's really important. There's very few things that our guys are going to have in their life that they dedicate more condensed time and energy and passion and love into than they are this team. And they're going to be able to come back to this well for the rest of their lives and know that it was something really special that they accomplished here, and something really incredible that they sacrificed for this place. And I'm excited for them to be able to see that in living color, right?
When your name gets called, as an introduction to the head coach of Utah Valley University, and you get, like you said, there's a loyalty with the big blue out there, and let's say you get a big ovation from them, what's that going to mean to you individually? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't. If that happens, it's nothing that I already don't know. Is it going to be a little emotional though, knowing that?
Yeah, I think it's going to be emotional to be back in that building, because just like my guys, when they get to come back into our building, right? In fact, it was really fun. Even from our first season, we had a big senior class. Our first season, we had five guys graduating, and 3 of those guys came to a lot of our games last year as alumni. And one of them, Marcel, of course, was playing overseas, so he couldn't make it back to the game. And Darius was in and out of town, but Darius came to a couple games on the road. He came to a couple games here, and those guys experience of walking into this gym, right, and remembering, the moment, all the energy and effort they sacrificed in the program, and the great successful moments we had, right? Even in that year where we only won 12 games. But Alex Carr walks back into the gym, and every time he walks back into the gym, he remembers our very first practice of two-a-days, 6 a.m., where it'd been drilled into these guys that they're not late, and Darius Hamilton walks in late, and Al ran over, and the whole team was nervous because they know I'd already killed him once that summer. And so Alex Carr sprints across the gym, and he grabs Darius, and I get emotional, I talk about it, and he throws him up against the wall. And he's like, he handled it by himself internally as a team, right? And in these teams, when you build a team the right way, you know, Alex is never going to do that to another human being in his life because it's not appropriate. But in that setting, it was exactly what was called for. And you have 1,000 moments like that where he became a man, right? Where he took ownership of a group of people, and where he was chasing a mission really hard and sacrificing a lot for himself. And so every time those guys walk into the gym, they get to embrace all those experiences they had. And that's what it's like for me to walk back into Rupp, right? Like, I'm gonna have a flood of memories of all the moments that we sacrificed and suffered and failed and succeeded together as a team. And there's something about being in the building that brings all that back. And that's really what that moment, more than, and there certainly is a connection with all the Kentucky Fifth. There's no fans in the world like them. And that connection is incredibly special. And just to go smell that and feel it for a moment is the greatest thing for any athlete after they finish, right? To walk back into the gym and feel it, and it'll be the same for them.
It's a season opener. What are you expecting from your guys? I mean, it's the 4th ranked team in the country going up against one of the top 2 recruiting classes in the nation. You know, from what I've heard, they're athletic as all get out. What do you hope your guys to take away from that season opener?
Well, and we kind of talked about it a little bit. So 2 things are really important. Number 1, we have to be us, right? Because I will always be totally focused on this WAC tournament and the NCAA tournament. And our whole 100% goal is how good can we grow our team at the end of the season. And part of this schedule is to do that. You know, it's no doubt, I mean, nobody's going to be shocked. I mean, it's pretty clear what we're doing with our scheduling, right? I'm not trying to schedule 20 wins. And there's a reality to that. For some programs, that's the right thing to do. You know, for some programs, they're at a point where maybe their team's young, or, you know, they need to gain confidence, or they need to protect a job or whatever, or they don't have a character on the team where they're going to be able to enjoy really tough stretches through the season. It's not my team, it's not the way I coach. We scheduled these impossible games so that we can see how good we can become. So to do that, we have to be who we are, right? So that's number 1. That's really, really, really important for me. We have to get this out of it. We have to get this out of this process. And the second thing is, there are some ways that Kentucky can really expose us. They can really expose us in transition. They can really expose us on the glass. Really, really expose us on the glass. And the other way they can really expose us is their length is so tremendous. You know, we're a very aggressive offensive team. We rely on our ability to pass the ball a lot, pass the ball quickly and heavily. And their defensive length, what we can't do is we can't give up 35 deflections in a game. That's going to really stymie. So the second thing is I want to see how can we combat those colossal issues that we have. You know, we walk in this game and we can kind of manage those things that feel really good about what we get out of this, right, in terms of us getting better. Now, we're trying to go in there and win. That's what we do. We're going to try and go win. And there's nobody in America that thinks we can go win this game. And certainly nobody in Vegas that thinks we can win this game.
That's not true, though. Ken Pond was giving you a 1% chance to win.
There we go.
So, I mean, like
still,
Lloyd on Dumb and Dumber, you're saying there's a chance.
We're still 2.5 weeks out. You know that's going to go down to like 0.1%, but that's okay. We've actually won games where Ken Pond gave us a 1% chance to win. So, you know, I want my guys to really do those 2 things. Be who we are and see if we can manage this incredibly talented team, and we'll see what we learn.
If you do shock the world and pull off an upset, whether it's at Duke or at Kentucky, is there anything crazy that Coach Pope is going to do because his guys pulled off a major crazy upset.
Hey, you know what? We'll celebrate for about 7 minutes, and then we actually are going to play the number one team, ranked team in the country, in 20 hours after that. So, listen, we're going to go there and we're going to compete, and we're going to try and win games, and those things are incredibly important to me. And the most important thing to me is what can we take from this experience that's going to help us win 3 games in a row in the WAC tournament and win some games in the state tournament. We will never lose sight of that goal. And we're going to have all kind of ups and downs in this season because that's the way we designed the season. And so the trick for us is can we go towards that?
Can we get one shout out for One Team All Green?
All right, so let me talk to you about One Team All Green, okay? If there is one media outlet in America that is going to give you everything you need to know about Utah Valley University athletics, it's One Team All Green. These guys do an unbelievable job. They are with us every step of the way. They know the insides and outs of our program better than anybody else. And you're not going to want to miss it because we're going places, guys. We're going fast. We're going to become something that nobody thinks we can become. And you're going to catch up with all that at One Team All Green. So you can follow them on Twitter. Is it just One Team All Green Twitter? One Team All Green Instagram? Mm-hmm. And the podcast is going to be
Wolverine Way.
Wolverine Way. So don't miss it, guys. I'm telling you. If you're a sports fan and if you have any relationship to athletics in Utah or Utah Valley, you are going to definitely want to tune into One Team All Green.
All right. We're here with UVU assistant coach Chris Burgess. We're going to talk a little bit about the upcoming game at Duke since you've played at Duke for 2 years.
Yeah.
Just kind of what are your thoughts about going back to Cameron Indoor?
A lot of thoughts, right? A lot of excitement. What a great opportunity, not only to be able to be on the bench there and coach on the other side, but also for our guys, our players, to be able to play in an atmosphere, play in such a special place as Duke, to go against some of the best in college basketball, which a lot of people are calling number one team. So I'm excited for our guys in that opportunity as well as us.
Talk about it's Coach K's most likely his chance at 1,000 wins at Duke. Coach Pope asked us to ask you about possibly playing the spoiler in that game, with UVU.
Yeah, listen, he's one of the. People say he's one of the top coaches of all time, right? You got to put him up there with Coach Wooden. He'd be right up there in terms of wins, in terms of national championships, in terms of Final Fours, right? He's done it all. So to have an opportunity for Coach Pope to maybe steal that or make sure that he doesn't get that 1,000 and save it for another day, it'd be something special. Maybe bragging rights to some former teammates of mine. But at the end of the day, I think the most important thing is for our guys to go in there and just compete, right, and not make the game bigger than it is.
Coach Pope talked about putting together a schedule where he's not just putting it for a 20-win season.
Yeah.
And to start out with, like you said, number 4 Kentucky and then number 1 Duke. Not a lot of teams do that.
Yeah.
Talk about how meaningful that'll be for UVU, as the season goes on.
Yeah, I think that it prepares us for places like Grand Canyon. That's one of the best venues, by far the best venue probably in the WAC, right? For sure one of the top ones out here in the West. Prepares you to go into a place like North Dakota that's coming off a tournament berth here in the NCAA. Prepares you to go on the road, New Mexico State or Fullerton or Hawaii, right? These long road trips. But for us, I think every program's a little different, right? Some programs, the higher programs, they have the ability to schedule what people will call smaller teams, and they got to kind of pad their schedule, pad their wins. We don't have that. Coach doesn't want to do that, and I don't think we have that ability. We're not there yet, where we can just walk in any given day and think, Vegas is probably going to have us winning this game. We're not there yet. So for us, it's just hey, let's go challenge ourselves. Let's put together a great schedule that's going to get us ready for Bakersfield, New Mexico State, Grand Canyon. Those 3 teams are kind of dominating the WAC the last few years, right? And so that's kind of coaches that's in his DNA. It's what he's preaching to our guys, and we feel that's what's best for us. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what we do in the non-conference. It really doesn't even matter what we do in the conference. Of course we want to win, but what matters are those 3 games in March. And if we can come out on top because we're better prepared and we've been through tough games, tough atmospheres, tough home games, good wins. We feel like then let's do that. Let's put that schedule together to best prepare us for the WAC tournament.
You've played in the Duke UNC,
Yeah.
rivalry. You've played, you know what the Cameron Crazies are all about. Talk about the atmosphere that it is in Cameron Indoor Stadium.
Well, there's so much history to it, right? You kind of walk into this venue, especially coming off a Kentucky game. It's small. It's a small atmosphere, but it's just packed on top of you, and it's loud. They'll be there. You'll kind of bust there, and you're going to walk through Krzyzewskiville, right? It's right in front of Cameron. And you're going to, as you walk through like the Hall of Fame and all these different things, you're going to see all these photos of the history of Duke basketball, which, from Leitner, Johnny Dawkins, Danny Ferry, Bobby Early, Grant Hill, all these guys, right? Even Kyrie. So you're going to walk through, and there's an aura about it that's just like, man, this is really special. What an unbelievable opportunity, right? So if you can kind of focus on the game, that these guys are just college basketball players, just like we are, and not get caught up in that, I think that you will do a good job. But if you start look at this, appreciate that stuff after the game. Appreciate that stuff after the game. But it's one of the best venues in college basketball. There's no reason why they don't lose at home.
Right.
The reason why their non-conference win record in Cameron is unbelievable for a lot of reasons. That home court advantage is real there, and everybody feels it. Those Crazies, they do their homework on the opposing team, on the opposing coaches, and they're loud, they're obnoxious, and they're synchronized. It's fun. It's a fun atmosphere. I've never been on the other side, but it's a great place. It's a great gym to shoot in. It's a great gym to play in because it kind of has this like really loud, small atmosphere, like high school atmosphere too, in a sense where it's not like 40,000 or 30,000 or 25,000, right? So
Right.
they're just on top of you. So if you can get past walking through there and being overwhelmed, you're gonna be fine. And when I was there for the 2 years, and I didn't lose any there in my 2 years there. But if you can go in there, focus on the game, put everything else aside, this is just another college basketball team, you got a chance to compete.
Yeah.
You got a chance to compete.
What's it going to be like for you being on the opposite side?
Yeah, it'll be different. One of their assistants was my former teammate. All their administration are all the same, so you're kind of looking on that side and seeing all the people that, at one point were behind me when I was on the bench or cheering for me when I was on the court. So it'll be different, but last year we put in Huntsman there at the U, and that was weird too, right? That was weird too because I just, that was where I graduated and, spent a lot of time and did a lot of like practice and went through, you can imagine some of the practice with Coach Jair. So it's going to be a little bit like that. I'm going to want to win. We're going to want to win. And then when the game's over, and I'll cheer for Duke on every other team, but not against us.
Is there any like story that nobody really knows while you were at Duke that might be like embarrassing or funny or something that you might want to spit out?
So many. One thing about Coach K, a lot of people don't know is, they know he's a competitor, right? They know he wants to win. Obviously, his record and his determination speaks for itself. But people don't understand how hard of a coach he is to play for and how much he demands. You were in constant, it wasn't fear, but you were in constant, nervousness around him. But at the same time, there was, and this was 20 years ago, right? There was this kind of like awe about him too, like, man, that's Coach K. I'm playing for Coach K, or I'm learning from Coach K. But there's so many funny things, probably mostly locker room intended. But one thing someone knows is my roommate, and I was a freshman with him, was a guy named J.D. Simpson, and his dad actually invented the angioplasty. So, he was a good player in Northern California, but that was pretty cool just in the sense where, you're living with this like really big time famous doctor and inventor. So as far as basketball, there's just so many great experiences. Beating North Carolina at our home to win the ACC outright, and going to the Final Four, win the ACC tourney. My assistant was Quinn Snyder. He recruited me. Another assistant was Johnny Dawkins, now at UCF. So really good staff that I got to learn from, and players like Elton Brand, National Player of the Year. Shane Battier was National Player of the Year. Trajan Langdon, now at GM, assistant GM with the Nets.
Right.
Nate James, now assistant at Duke. So that circle's pretty special. And there's a reason why they're successful, and it all starts with Coach K and the culture he builds.
Can we get a shout out for One Team All Green?
Yeah, One Team All Green, man. I love following you guys on Twitter. I love reading all the stuff you guys talk about. We appreciate all your guys' support. We use so much material you guys put out there in selling our program and what we're trying to build here. Please just keep it up, because it's going such a long way for us and the recruiting and the guys we're bringing here and the program we're trying to build. And it starts with you guys. You know, it's not just the players. We talk about all these different programs. The reason they're successful is because of those fans. So we appreciate everything you guys do for us here at Utah Valley.